That is a much higher figure than the most recent one released by the Syrian Observatory for Human Rights. Well, Pillay says that exhaustive analysis has been carried out in order to calculate this latest toll, and she described the findings as, and I quote, truly shocking. Well, for more, we're joined from Geneva by France 24's Vicky Morgan. Vicky, what's particularly striking about these numbers is just how much higher they are than the overall toll in previous estimates.
Yes, that is very striking, but it's perhaps not surprising that this figure is so much higher because there is no one independent in Syria observing events throughout the country and reporting neutrally on what they see. So these numbers are the best guide to what's happened on the ground, even if they weren't gathered in the most perfect way. The UN Human Rights Commissioner gave a specialist data company reports of deaths in Syria from 7 sources. Now, those sources included the Syrian government, the Syrian Revolution General Council, the Syrian Human Rights Observatory, and other organizations documenting this conflict. And there were in total reports of some 150,000 deaths. Over 5 months, the team went through all of these reports, and where there was a first name, a last name, a date, and a location for that death, then that death was noted, and that work gave rise to this figure of nearly 60,000 deaths. When you look at those figures, they show some horrible trends. In the summer of 2011, around 1,000 deaths were occurring a month in Syria. By the end of the period studied, that number had gone up 5 times, around 5,000 deaths a month occurring by 2012. Homs seems to be the area where most deaths have occurred. Around 12,000 people thought to have died there, around 10,000 in rural Damascus, and all of these numbers could be underestimates according to the analysts.
Extremely shocking figures there. And the UN High Commission for Human Rights also had some very harsh words, didn't they, for the international community?
Yes, she did point the finger at the first place in the first instance at Syria for letting things get so bad, but definitely the harshest criticism was aimed at the international community. We have fiddled, Navi Pillay said, at the edges while Syria burns. It was a very, very harsh criticism at the international community and particularly the Security Council for failing to act on Syria. This failure, Navi Pillay says, shames us all. She described the work of her colleagues interviewing people in Syria, and she says that when Syrians ask, why isn't everybody acting to stop this slaughter in Syria, the UN workers simply have no answer for them. The last line of this report is perhaps a warning for those who may not care so much about human rights, but who have their eye on the bottom line. She says if nothing is done about Syria, then it could end up as another Iraq, another Afghanistan, another Somalia, an area of instability that will cost a lot, billions, to bring stability to that.
All right, thank you very much indeed, France 24's Vicky Morgan there in Geneva. We're going to stay with Syria because activists are reporting that dozens of people have been killed in an airstrike on a petrol station that was in the eastern suburb of the Syrian